Hey guys, welcome back. So with this one, we're returning to Earth 6160 to continue the story of Ultimate Invasion, to find out not only how the maker has rewritten this world's history, but also take a look at his list of people of interest, who he's either decided to use or get rid of completely. But first, before we get started, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week, and don't forget to hit that bell up top for all notifications so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so when we jump back in, we pick up on Earth 6160, where at this time the maker is going through his memory log, which is a database that he's built containing the records of what he's changed and the status of specific people in this universe which he's augmented. And though we were shown prior to this the example of him stopping Peter Parker from becoming Spider-Man in this universe, at the time I had mentioned that there had to be a more efficient way for the maker to go about this in order to see this through, which for him there is, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But the question that remains with the maker coming to this world and altering it throughout time is, what world did he originally come to and make this one out of? Because as it stands, we're not really given any information that ties this to where we last saw the maker before this event began. Because back in Venom issue 26, when the maker inadvertently returned to his home world, Earth 1610, at the time, it was like our second confirmation that Earth 1610 had returned. But as it stands now, none of this is being acknowledged. And it could just fall in line with everything that Hickman's been saying lately, as far as Ultimate Invasion being its own brand new thing. So on one hand, it could be Hickman just completely ignoring what Donny Cates had set up, or on the other hand, this could just be setting us up for a huge plot twist down the line, with us discovering something like the maker just had really bad memory. Who knows? But I say this because as it stands, we'll just continue to go forward with Ultimate Invasion, and fingers crossed it will explain at some point why the maker invited Miles Morales to return home with him, if all of this truly was something completely new. But I also bring this up because the way that this starts, with the maker thinking back about his last conversation with 616 Reed. The maker remembers asking Reed if Reed had the chance, would he erase the maker from existence? And like we saw, when Reed said yes, the maker said he'll keep that in mind. Almost as if that conversation influenced some of the changes that the maker made in the process of molding Earth 6160, because we find out amongst these changes, he delayed the launch that the Fantastic Four would make so that they would avoid being caught in the cosmic rays that would have made them fantastic. And like I mentioned before, the maker has a memory log where he keeps up with the status of all the different heroes of this universe, where in the case of this world's Reed is tagged as controlled, and all the other members of the Fantastic Four are deceased. And going forward, we discover that the Rainbow Bridge is broken, isolating Asgard, which is ruled by Loki as the king of Asgard, with Thor taking a knee. But also, as we're shown these changes, we're told that some things are just going to happen. Bullets are going to be fired, bombs are going to explode, mankind is still going to be a slave to their nature. So even still, we get Bruce Banner eventually becoming the Hulk. But for the maker, even with him adjusting events throughout time, he still finds missing pieces of history that seem impossible to not be there. As we're shown Captain America not being found in the ice, which really for us as the reader, it's like our first taste of witnessing the maker having trouble in paradise. And going forward, we find that Stark Industries is actually a company called Stane Stark, which is ran by Obadiah Stane and Howard Stark, with Howard Stark being Iron Man, which is a huge departure from both Earth 616 and Earth 1610. But we'll discover with time that the maker has specific intentions for the use of Howard Stark, since he's listed on the memory log we were shown under the status of controlled, which we'll also learn more about in time. But at this point, Obadiah pulls Howard to the side to let him know that he's got to get out of the lab and show that billion-dollar face to the world by attending this huge premiere that the maker is holding. And as it stands, Howard already promised Obadiah that he would go. And for a moment, he expresses to Obadiah that there's times when Howard thinks about his gifts and everything that him and Obadiah have accomplished together, and he wonders, is this it? Is the world as it is the sum total of what he's capable of? And he asks Obadiah if that makes any sense. And Obadiah responds, more than he can imagine. And from here we find, after a 4-hour flight, the two of them make their way to Latveria for the internationally televised opening of the city, which has been shielded in isolation for 2 weeks prior. And at this premiere, there were many big name appearances, because aside from Obadiah Stane and Howard Stark, there's also the legendary and immortal Hulk, who under the maker's control is now more of a monk who is a testament to the power of serenity and the epitome of those who resist the seductive call of rage and vengeance. And aside from him, you also had the Harada Yoshida, as well as the Rasputin family in attendance. But early on in this premiere, we see the Maker look up to the sky and say, "Well, I'm waiting," letting us know that he's anticipating what was pretty much a surprise to everyone else. Cause as soon as he says this, the sky opens up and a litter of Avengers variants just comes pouring out with different Captain Americas, Thors, Wasps, Visions, like a superhero duplication glitch gone mad. But through the course of this attack, the Maker is shielded and unusually calm. But while under fire, Obadiah asks Howard if he brought his portable suit, but Howard says no, since Obadiah told him not to. And it's here we find, with Obadiah not taking his own advice, that he has a suit, and he suits up, which for us is like the shock factor reveal that Obadiah Stane is War Machine. And I gotta say, I'm digging the 6160 War Machine suit, which possibly is because it has the whole 1610 vibe to it, but yeah, just wanted to get that out there. But as this chaotic fight goes on, we see Magic, Omega Red, Colossus, everybody's in on the action. Even the Hulk, with him having the Holy Man Protector of Peace thing going on, so it's not like he refuses to fight, but he'll fight to protect his people and as a last resort. But amongst this chaotic battle, of which the Maker's just standing back and watching, as if he's AFK, tragically Obadiah Stane is reached through from behind by one of the Visions, who delivers a fatal blow, causing the War Machine suit to go critical. And as Howard rushes towards Obadiah, there's nothing he can do, as Obadiah just says "I'm sorry," to where next his War Machine suit overloads and detonates, knocking Howard Stark back and out cold as this battle continued all around him. And sometime later, Howard finds himself woken up by the Maker, who first gives Howard the news about Obadiah's death just before showing him that he has the surviving attackers captive. And the Maker goes on to explain to Howard that all of them are from the future, sent back on a Temporal Kamikaze mission to erase the Maker and possibly Howard Stark from history. But then next, the Maker goes on to tell Howard that he uses data here in the city on cellular legacies after doing a regressive scan on each of these soldiers, and with that information he gathered together their current day ancestors to order their extermination, so that by cause and effect the future superhero attackers would have never existed. Which on one hand just had me like, man, that's nasty. And then on the other, it had me like, well, who was down here related to Thor, just chilling? And on the third hand, would Vision turn into people juice? Or would the lack of Wonder Man just make him fall over? Hey, who knows? But for Howard, with him seeing this, he flips out and he tells the Maker that whoever did this, they're gonna erase him next when they find out. But the Maker goes on to tell him that that's not going to work, because he wasn't born here, not in this place, on this planet, or even this universe, because he emerged here, fully formed. And if they come for him, it'll have to be at the height of his powers. And with hearing this, as far as Howard's concerned, these people did, and for that reason, his friend is dead. So the Maker tells Howard to follow him, because he wants to show him something. And just after this, the Maker reveals to Howard an Immortal engine, which immediately after, Howard begins to critique the construction. But with seeing that the Maker has a time machine, he tells him this has to be the reason all those people came back, and that the Maker has to destroy it. But as it stands right now, the Immortal engine is damaged, currently non-functional, and the Maker wouldn't destroy it even if he could. Then the Maker tells Howard to look around him at this perfectly ordered society that he lives in, and he asks him if he believes if this is how things were supposed to go. And the Maker goes on to tell him that he used this machine to remake the world into how it is now, erase the threats before they could emerge, and repurpose existing pieces like Howard Stark himself for grander designs. And for Howard, given this information, he's immediately thinking about the repercussions. So he tells the Maker that he has to understand the full scope of what he's done, annihilating the future, destroying their past. This won't be the end of it. This is just the first encounter. But the Maker just tells him no. This was the second. The first was 2 weeks ago, as he then removes his helmet, showing Howard Stark that the top half of his dome is gone, while telling Howard that he's the one who did this to him. And for Howard, with a very exhausted expression, he asked the Maker, dude, how are you not dead? Which for the Maker, he was able to survive this because a long time ago, he moved parts of his brain and his vital organs throughout his body for the sake of preservation. But this injury has caused his memory to be impaired, flawed, fractured. So as it stands now, he can't trust his memory because there are some things that he's recalling incorrectly. But he goes on to let Howard know what he's sure of is that he needs him more than anyone else on this world, and maybe on other worlds, because the Maker believes that Howard Stark is the one who built this Immortal engine. which now not only reveals to us the maker's main intent and use for Howard Stark, but also it introduces to us the huge flaw in the maker's memory, which could be hiding critical details even from himself. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/DopeSpill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.